just saw a post about maids in Southern California were on strike, and that somebody posted, like, implied their headline. They make $25 an hour and they want more. Now, if we look at anywhere across the country, uh, $20 an hour is bare minimum, and that will possibly take care of your apartment or home mortgage, property taxes, you're buying a new car, maintaining that car, paying for food, paying for stuff for your children, um, not to mention taxes. So 25 dollars an hour. And the thing is, I would assume that so hotel workers, hotel maids, they may not be getting $40, and they may not be getting 40 hours a week. So because most businesses don't want to pay benefits, and so these people, you know, may, even though if they're working $20 an hour, it may be only part time. And in order to, like, what is rent in Southern California? You know, it's I would assume it's competitive. So it's going to be like 2,000, 3,000 for your rental. And how much is it for, you know, your monthly car insurance and your monthly gas expenses and your monthly car repairs, and not to mention other stuff like having to pay your medical bills and other things that each individual has. So I would say it is perfectly reasonable for people to want more money. Like the like in the 90s when I was working in offices, like I was totally exploited as an entry level office worker, and I had more skills than the guy in the cubicle next to me who got $45 an hour, and I was paid $13 an hour. And I was managing the archives for the department. But um, like, and this guy who made $40 an hour, he wasn't terribly like wealthy, you know. He didn't. So I think it is possible for people to have, you know, I mean, I don't know if entry level workers, um, you know, if it's fair to. I mean, I still am like, oh my gosh, you know, how I was exploited so much. But um, you know, either the thing is, cities have such crazy rentals, rentals, and the housing market to purchase a home, everything is sky high. So people need to make more money just to throw at the rent or the mortgage payment. So if you don't want people needing more money, you need to somehow manage the prices of housing, because I notice a lot of people complain that people aren't taking entry level jobs in their area. These are wealthy people. You know, this is in San Francisco or in beautiful parts, you know, beachfront property in California. You're the people that you need to work at the gas station and the donut shop and the coffee shop. They can't afford to live in your area, and they are not going to commute 3 hours to work at a $15 an hour job. But that's, I mean, and that's like $15 an hour as a coffee person or as a gas station attendant is probably a lot. They're probably getting paid $8, $9 an hour. So it's like, rich people are totally oblivious to the cost of housing, and they're like, "Well, just get three more jobs." Some people just do not have the physical energy to work for jobs. To, you know, people just don't have the time also to work for jobs to pay these inflated rental or mortgage costs. Like, people don't have the money to buy a house, you know, to put the down payment and all that. So, folks, if you're offended that entry level workers want more money, if you're offended that there's no entry level workers taking the crappy jobs in your area, look into the cost of rent. Because if you had reasonable rent, if there was an apartment that was like for $700, let's say you had 20 apartments for $700 for entry level workers, okay? No trust fund transients. You don't want people who are digital nomads or millionaires. Like those are people who are snapping up good property, and they don't contribute to anything because these millionaires are going to go live in Bali, and then they're going to go live in Mexico, and then they're going to go live on a yacht for a year. You want people who just want to be there and live there. That's the thing about people with a lot of income, is they're like, oh, we got to go away for the weekend. And so, like, I lived in Missoula, which is like this millionaire. It's so weird. It was like this millionaire ghost town because weekends nobody was around. Weekdays, sometimes entire blocks would be dark because nobody was there. Nobody was living there. Like there's all these empty houses, beautiful, beautiful, I don't know, mansions, and nobody's there. And they probably paid off the mortgage. They don't need to even rent it out. It's the family house. So, on Easter or Christmas or something, maybe not Christmas, but like they use it once a year and they don't want to get rid of it. And so these people have like 5 properties. Like that's what's so distressing about these greedy homeowners. Where they're like doing Airbnb, so they get to rent each bedroom for $300 a night. So it's like, and you got 2 bedrooms, and so you make $1,000 in a few days. Like this incredible greed of landlords is creating such a crisis. So if you're being so greedy because you're addicted to this Airbnb money, or you like you're owning property that you're never using, and rents are astronomical. And yet you still want a gas station attendant. Like, where is that gas station attendant? Where is the maid supposed to live on $25 a day? Like on $25 an hour, and maybe she's only working 4 hours a day. That is not that much money if she's paying like LA rents and LA gas, mileage and car repairs and just stuff that she'll need to do, and having children and whatnot. It's like, and paying taxes. When you're paying FICA, like let's say you make 400, it's like 200 goes to FICA. So you're not really, it's not really that much money. So like have some low cost housing, $700, $600, for an efficiency, $500 for an efficiency. And you'll have some good people there. And if people aren't good, you just evict them. And I know that there's weird laws and stuff like that, but I do think you can, like I have lived in apartment buildings and houses, and when like roommates have been asked to leave, it's been like nobody was doing some sort of lawsuit or whatever. There was a building where the roof was falling in, and the landlord evicted. I had moved out, but the landlord evicted all the remaining roommates because, and they were disappointed. But nobody did, like, I don't know, I guess there's every once in a while I think there's some person who um, does law stuff. But anyway, let's say you have 200 efficiencies, 500, 600, 700, to work at the donut shop and the coffee shop as maids and whatnot. um, yeah, you're probably going to get one bad apple, but I'm sure with when you when you have your expensive Airbnb, you probably have some jerk that's paying you $600 a night, and you're probably like, oh, that was horrible, but yay, $600. I mean, I think if you have one bad apple out of 200, employees that's making your community great, like that's just life, and I think like landlords are spoiled. They just want passive income and with absolutely no difficulties. And you know what? Life is difficulties. They just want the like that's what I overheard some landlords because I was working at a retreat center, and so there's all these landlords. So they're living off of exploiting people for rent, basically, and they just want to travel and go to retreats and take classes and hook up. And so when they realized that I was a worker, they're like, oh, we're not going to talk, we're not going to complain about our tenants in front of this plebeian, normie or whatever. And I think like they're, like, I guess if I was a landlord and I had property and could exploit people for the very basic thing of life, like maybe I'd be that way too. Like, oh, I don't want to have to do anything difficult, you know. I guess they're spoiled. These are spoiled brat kind of people, um, because interacting with people is a pain, um, and like when you're the renter and you're dealing with the landlord who wants you to get this document and that document and fill out endless forms and whatnot. Like if a renter asked the landlord to fill out all those forms to give us all that detail, like the landlord would never do it. Not only because the landlord doesn't need to, but if they did, I mean they just like they're so flush with cash, they don't have a whole lot of conflicts that they have to face because they're just like, oh, I'm just gonna do my drugs and have promiscuous sex and go drink and go travel and like live a good life while I get passive income from my properties that my parents got for me, or maybe that I invested wisely. So anyway, I don't know if all landlords are like that, but it's a job. If you're a landlord, it's a job. It's a job. It was a job in the past, and it still is a job. It's your job, and to complain about it is just kind of embarrassing. It's kind of like cringe. I would say it's cringeworthy because it's like, what? Like when you're a homeowner, and you're like, darn it, like the water heater ran out, and that water heater is out to get me. That water heater is acting up. When you're a parent, you're like, how dare that child, be loud or be obnoxious or have growing pains or, I mean, that's just life, So anyway, people need, like, I think people are so privileged and insulated. They've inherited hundreds of thousands of dollars from their grandparents and parents when people die and you sell the property, and so people do not realize, like, some people have $0 at the end of the month, and yet these people with so much income are just expecting, well, you're a maid, you should be able to live on $100 a day in LA. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. The only way somebody can live on that is if they're living in their car. And if they're living in their car, they're not going to be working at the hotel. They don't want to work at the hotel. They're going to be, they'll go work somewhere else, where at least they'll have a better quality of life if they have to live in their car. And it's the solution is so simple: have just an affordable place for people to live. But people are so greedy and so impatient and so living in the moment, they just will not invest in like something for 5 years, 10 years. Like building a place where your worker can live. And maybe that's what donut shops and gas stations, maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe they need to rent out a building and be like, okay, so yeah, you know, um, if you want to work here, like one of the perks is you can apply to live in one of these single occupancy units or in one of these, 2-bedroom family apartments. I wonder if that's the only way it's going to happen, because there's just no options. And this has been going on for years. There's no option for people to have a place to live. People just want to blame the homeless. They want to blame the mentally ill. They want to blame the drug addicts. And yeah, people who are doing drugs, they've made a choice. But the fact that there's no housing that's affordable, like that's a huge thing. That's this elephant in the room. And I saw a Senate hearing about it, and I've been seeing a little bit about Airbnb, and I'll see some articles about squatters, which is sad too, because I know people who are landlords, and that's very stressful. But there's just no place for people who don't have and the thing is, like during the lockdowns, people I know, or even before, people I know who struggle for whatever reason, they have parents who give them a lot of money. And some people also are willing to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and they just are bringing it. But there's just others who don't roll that way. And so they end up on the street. So anyways, yeah, I'm just wondering if, because a lot of corporations actually have hotel rooms for their executives. Like they just rent out a suite, and they, it's for their executive. So I think entry level companies that have a lot of entry level workers, I think need to have like an on-site apartment building or something like that, because that also makes it really nice to be like steps away from the job. Like if your commute is like 5 minutes, that's awesome, especially in LA. So anyways, that's my idea, that companies that don't pay enough need to, like, what you do is you either provide housing or have a rental that's just cheap. So maybe just have the rental, like, 500 for a single occupancy and 700 for a 2-family home. And, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of way you can just be like, and you got to be quiet and you can't do drugs and you're an employee. So this is part of your contract. And if you violate it, you're fired and you lose the place or something. I don't know. But maybe that's the complexity. But there's these people, like people need a place to live, just for basic shelter. Like my whole adult life, and even before, like when I was a high school student, I'm like, difficult family life. And I'm like, how will I have a safe roof over my head? That's been like haunting me my whole life, is just having that safe roof over my head that I can afford. And that can't just be me. And I mean, of course, it's not. I mean, I see all these messed up homeless people, sleeping in the middle of the day, in rags. And that's not good sleep. So, and then when people don't have good sleep, they're not going to make good decisions, and they'll do drugs or drink or have altercations. When perhaps maybe if they ate well and had a good sleep and a safe sleep and had a room, you know, like maybe things would be different. So, anyways, do you think that entry level workers should only make $100 a day in LA and not expect any more? And how much are so hotels are making what $300 a night for a room, and how much of that is going to the CEO and whatnot and shareholders and all that? I mean, that's the thing, is like entry level people are exploited and expected to basically work for free. So we're worked to death, paid a pittance, and then we have to give half in taxes and treated like crap. And you barely have enough, either rent or food or something like that. Like that's just that's a that's a bad situation. And so what privileged people will say, well, get a degree. Well, you still need that entry level hotel worker, don't you? So okay, so let's say that maid gets a bachelor's and a master's degree. She's not going to be working at the folding sheets and making beds anymore. So the thing is, you have to have something doable for that person, because you do need the gas station attendant. Do need the deep fryer cook at the donut shop. You need the coffee person. You need these entry level jobs to be filled for your convenience. And the only way it can be done is if there's housing. And I suspect a lot of housing. I think a lot of people that are living in tents, they probably are government employees or working for the newspaper or the hospital or something, but their rents were just too crazy, and so they're just like nobody knows that they live in a tent. That's my guess. And the things you can't really say, because then they'll lose their job. How dare you be homeless? How dare you not being able to afford $3,000, $5,000 in rent? It's crazy. So, anyways, I will stop for now. God bless.